You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family. Well, hi, everybody, and welcome back. This is Glenn the Geek, founder of the Horse Radio Network and host of Horses in the Morning, the daily podcast for the last 16 years. And welcome to the WESA Retail Roundup. The Retail Roundup is your go-to virtual hub for all things retail. Panel discussions, we have guests, we talk about the operations side of retail. And today we're talking about the retail model that goes far beyond the walls of the store. We're talking about heading out to meet your customers with mobile units and things and other services that you can provide. And we're joined by Wendy Winn of WinHorses, and she is a veteran of mobile retail, also a saddle fitter and an expert in equine education and things like that, but doing it on the ground and traveling. Wendy, thanks for joining us. Where are you at now?
You bet. I'm in Townsend, Montana, headed to Kalispell, Montana. So, yep, I'm a road warrior.
So for those of you watching on video, you'll see the beautiful sky there in Montana. It's God's country. It's called that for a reason.
Yep. Sit by a horse trailer.
Although it looks cold.
On a cooler. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool today, but I'm on a Yeti just fitting horses, actually, at a lady's horse barn.
Okay, you're the first guest I've had in about 7,000 that have probably done it from a Yeti. So,
I want to be the only one, right? From Yeti. Yep, Yeti coolers. I'm sitting on one. It's the best way to keep your boiled eggs cold.
So, Yeti, if you're looking to get the word out to the horse world, you can sponsor our show. We'd be happy to hear from you.
There you go.
So, Wendy, I had done mobile too. When we had our tack shop, we did mobile.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the mobile operation of it. Some people just do mobile. Some do mobile in addition to brick and mortar.
Right.
Which one were you? Both?
A little bit of both. So I did work remotely for a long time, and I had a 42-foot trailer filled with saddles and some tack that I took across the world. And then I downscaled, and so now I do it in one bag. And I take a saddle and a tree and some fitting cards, and I still educate across the world. So I don't have, a bunch at home, but I really try to reach out to other vendors who do have brick and mortars, and they have the product. And so I kind of changed how I would say maybe the virtual is going to become or has become. And I really do a lot of reach out services for other people and help them and do some consulting. It's way easier. It's way easier to haul a bag to the airport than it is to haul a 42-foot trailer, but I've done both now. And the 42-foot trailer was amazing simply because you had a lot of choices and options. And it was a way that, you could get trees and saddles on horses and they could ride them, they could run in them. I would still say, when I get a saddle company that I would do the same thing. People in the saddle world need to be able to sit in them, ride in them. They need to be able to put it on their horse. They need the expert there to help them understand. It's not car shopping, right? It's saddle shopping, and we're putting something on a moving unit, and that makes it a little more interesting.
What's the key to actually making money with a mobile unit?
It's tough, but I would say that it's pretty easy. Also, you have to be able to schedule out and be smart about where you go and map it out. So a lot of times I'll map out, just like here, I was supposed to go to Canada and that got cut short. So I just turned around, made some phone calls. I'm fortunate because I have a lot of really, really great friends who I'm always like, hey, I'll be in your area. Do you want to put something together? So I went from Canada this trip back to Oregon, spent 5 days with Platinum Trailers. We did some pretty fun stuff there. We did a fitting clinic. And then like I'm here in Townsend for 4 days, then I'll go to Kalispell. So it's not hard. It's just, you just have to map it out, and then you have to keep your cost of goods at a good level. And then you also have to have your travel expenses really low. So if I was going to make $1 million, at the height of my career, I was a $2 million salesman, and I was less than probably 7% in expenses.
So for those with the mobile tack shop, how important, what kind of product are you carrying there? Obviously, if you're carrying low end or inexpensive items, it's going to be much tougher to make any money, right? Do you have to have a little bit of everything? Do you have to lean toward the higher end profit margin stuff?
I think you need to have a good product that speaks for itself. I don't think that financially you need to have a $6,000 saddle. I think you could do really well with the $4,000 saddle. I believe that you have to be state of the art on what goes under that saddle the best, and you've got to have an innovative pad, something that also you stand behind and ride. So I'm a fan of, if I don't ride it, I don't ride it. I don't sell it. I don't talk about it. So the things that I have proven are actually proven in an arena with me on there as a horseman. So I think that's easier. And then I think even bits and, having some really, really nice handmade cinches and things like that, that's optimal. And right now, I'll tell you who does it best is Saddle House. Adam, he goes to a lot of the cow horse shows, and he has a little unit in Weatherford, Texas, that they build really good tacks. Tack Dennis Moreland, he's an 80-year-old man that's been after it a long time, and then he also has a shop down there by Houston, Texas. So you have to, in a cowboy world, you have to be a cowboy, know cowboys, and do a little trading. I think that's what's important. You have to be able to say, "I'll take a trade, and I'll give you good value for a saddle." When you take a trade, right? You can't sell them a saddle for $5,000 and then they ride it for 30 days and they bring it back and you say, "Oh, it's only worth 2,500." That's not cowboy. So you have to have a really good product, but you also have to know it works. So I would say if you had $4,000 saddles, most of the pads I'm in with now are $500 pads. They're not inexpensive. The cinches are anywhere from 110 to 300. Any bits that I ride, like they're $500 to $700 bits. So I don't recommend garbage, and I don't buy anything from India. I'm an American made. If it's in my bag or it's at my house, it's made in America. That's big.
So, how much of obviously you sell the add-ons, right? So, and the add-ons are what we found in our mobile unit are always important. Yeah, you can sell a saddle or not, right? But if
Yeah.
I sell enough of the saddle pads and the bridles or the headstalls or all of that stuff, then I've got a base there, and then the saddles
Yep.
become profit, right?
Yep.
So, how important are those other items?
Add-ons are important, the right add-ons. You could take one bit and have five add-on chin straps, and those chin straps are really where, you make your KPIs. And those are really a cool option to have, because if you had two great bits on there that you can ride a lot of horses in, and then you have those five just really nice chin straps, and you can explain what those five chin straps do, and they could buy those for $75 to $100. Your markups in that, and then your markup in your bits, not a lot, but it's probably a little better than the saddle deal. And I reverse psychology probably more than anybody on the road. I wanted them in a saddle. And if they couldn't, that's where my education side of it came. And I became more interested in the biometrics of the horse and how that horse works, so that they always came back. They were always like, "Well, hey, I did this with my horse's feet," or "I've been riding a little different. Can you help me with that?" And so it just became an education source too. So now, for me on the road, I can get them in a saddle and a really nice handmade bit or a bridle, but then I also have an online resource. So if they can't see me the next time, they can go online and they can learn and grow. So I think that's another add-on that people don't think about unless you're in the Western world.
And in sales we call that dripping, right? You're
Right.
always constantly
Oh
dripping,
yeah.
so that if they don't do anything with you this time, you're in their head for the next time you come around,
Hmm.
or the
Yeah.
next time they see you at a show or whatever, right?
Right.
And that's comes part. I spoke recently at a conference for journalists, and
Cool.
one of the concerns, obviously, there is AI is a big concern in the journalism world, probably more than any other world, actually.
Yeah.
And I talked a lot about building community. That's something
Mhm.
AI can't do. Right?
That's right.
AI
That's right.
can't build a community. It's not.
Mhm.
It will never be good at building a community because that's all about personality. And I think that's the advantage to the mobile tack shop. No matter what you're selling, I don't care what you're
Yeah.
selling,
Yeah.
whether you're selling supplements or saddles, it doesn't matter. You're building a community who's
Mhm.
going to look for you the next time that you come around.
Yeah. That's been something that number one, I work hard to do what God wants me to do, and then that community gets built pretty easy, honestly, because they value you and trust your opinion, and they value that you'll be honest with them. And so it's not always about a sale. It never was for me. It's still not. I want them to know who I am. I hand my phone now my phone number out a lot. I'll say, you can call me. It maybe give me a couple days to get back to you, but I think my broad scale reach is almost 175 thousand followers on the social platforms, and so I think it's important to listen to people and really be a kind person and try to help them where they're at. That builds your business no matter what you're doing.
And builds a community, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's exactly
yeah.
what. And I would venture to say that if you are the type of salesperson that it's all about the sale, you're not going to be, you wouldn't be around as long as you have been anyway. You're just not going to
No,
be around.
no,
Yeah.
no, and I would agree. As a visionary, like my vision has always been the horse, and it still is, and it's because I'm a horseman. You mentioned saddle fit. That's what I do, but that's not who I am. And as a horseman, right? They can see me at a roping arena. They can see me at a college rodeo. They can see me at an amateur rodeo. They can see me riding colts at home, and so it's believable and it's authentic. And when you're believable and you're authentic, the community is your community, and then you go learn from other people that are smarter than you, and then you share that resource, right? I've been with some amazing farriers and some amazing veterinarians in my career, and I always try to shadow them, but shout them back. Be like, man, I learned this from this veteran, Dr. Page from Colorado, who's been after this 45 years. And then you become well respected because you respect them and they respect you, and that's important. And AI is a big thing in journalism, right? But I also think it's AI is becoming more popular on the social feeds. But the more authentic you are and the more real you are, the more it's believable. And they're like, wow, that's cool. I want to meet that person. When you're just like, well, I'm just some normal team roper from Kansas that loves horses, and they're just like, what? I can't believe it. I'm like, well, believe it, man. Like, I I, I stop at the coffee shop just like you do. I'm not any different.
And I think too, going along with that, more and more is obviously being done online and social media and all that stuff. And a lot of people don't have local tax shops right around them anymore. A lot of them
No,
are closing
no.
up. There's less and less of them. So the only time they really do get to play with product is on a mobile tax shop at a show.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think probably 75% of the mom and pop shops closed up because you have big powerhouses, in like the professional world, you have NRS, which they're amazing. They carry every product you could ever want, from feed to, I mean, saddles to pads to cinches to clothing to hats to boots, all that stuff. And you have Teskies and you have like Walmart's on steroids that are horses. And so it's easy to buy online, and I'm that person, right? If I've got to have something, I'm going to go online and buy something, or I'm going to be at a roping, or I'm going to be somewhere to where I can walk in and really grab a hold of something really nice. I did notice, like, I've been to some cow horse shows lately with Adam, and I found it really, really valuable, that the trainers, the buyers, the owners of the horses, they were still coming in old tradition style trading. And I thought that was a thing of day like gone by, and it's not. And in Texas, it's so cool because they still value that. Like, good stuff lasts, and they'll bring something, a bosal in, or they'll bring some reins in, and they'll be like, hey, Adam, do you have this or do you have that? And he swaps them out and they get something new, and they're happy, and he's happy, and the used person is happy. So you successfully handle 3 or 4 clients with one product, which is awesome.
Speaking of that, talking about the quality products, what's the beside a saddle? Okay, let's take that out of the mix here because I think
Yeah.
that's the easy answer to this one. What's the one thing that you wish people would invest more in?
That's a really good question. I would say that it's coming, but I would say I would hope they would invest in understanding the horse and understanding feet, because so often you think that you have a bit problem or you have a saddle problem. In all actuality, it's a biomechanics problem. And so I would hope that they would learn more about their horse, more about getting their teeth done, getting their feet done, riding better, going outside the bubble and not just getting on their horse for a trail ride, but actually engaging that horse and engaging in what that horse can do and can't do. Extended education on just learning. Europe is so far ahead of us. I've been to Germany and England, and they're so far ahead of us in what how they view the horse and how they view riding and how they view farrier work. And, I have a clinic this fall, and I'm going to have several people from Europe come and help teach. And I'm so excited because if I'm lacking anywhere, I want to be a better horseman, and a better horseman understands their horse better, and that's important. That's how longevity wise you keep your horse until they're in their late 20s, and you ride them till their late 20s, and you rope on them till their late 20s. You don't have to turn them around, but if we don't pay attention to that, it becomes kind of a broken bridge. So I think we can learn some things too from the English and the dressage world. I think they're ahead of us. I think a lot of times they really do pay attention to the pony clubs and how do you brush your horse and how do you clean your horse's feet. And us Westerners sometimes are like, oh, just slap it on the butt and, go to the mountain. And I think we can be better. So education, I would want people to educate themselves and get a PhD in horsemanship. It's fun. It's worth it.
So, getting back to that person with the mobile tack shop, right, who's heading
Yeah.
out to the show, you said about preparation, and I think this is important too. Do you recommend that they plan a year? Like, okay, this year I'm going to plan out those strategic stops a year in advance. Is it something you
Yeah.
do more spur of the moment?
No, for me, my year is planned out, and I try to every quarter, the first of the quarter, I'll go through where I'm going and just double check like everybody's rolling like they need to roll. They're on track for who's coming or not coming. I did that. I would look ahead and I would get the big ones on the schedule. If I was going to be sponsoring or sponsored by, I would make sure we were in that B roll so that them coming into that event, you really want your name plastered all over the wall. And then you want to show up as the featured guest. And as a featured guest, you should have something that's distinctly different about how you operate. Rather, that's the most about bits, or the most about bit rings, or the most about pads. Try to get in front of that audience and that crowd of 1,500 and do an educational seminar, because then all the people that are there are bored at some point in the day. It's hot, it's Oklahoma, there's 1,500 barrel racers, and they're like, oh. And so when you become the featured guest, you roll them in, and then they're like, well, and then offer a free service, right? I'm free at this, or I'm free at that. And then they come out, and I don't know how many times, honestly, Glenn, I would be outside from 7 a.m. until dark, and I would have to tell people like, "Hey, I'm done. I gotta go." And so I would say yes a year out, but I would also say a quarter, and then I would look at that quarter, and if I was going to go to Mississippi, I would go 10 days on the road, and I would make sure I hit Mississippi, Alabama, anything that was close right there. I would go to travel barns. I would go meet somebody I didn't know. I would stop at a cow horse barn. I would stop at a barrel racing trainer. Then I would go to the event, because those people, what do they have? Followers. So networking is the best way to help people find you. And then a plan is so important, because people lose money in it. By August, you're not going to sell half as much as you are in February, March, and April. So you should be loaded heavy in the spring, depending on where you're at. And you should know by August, you probably don't need a trailer load of saddles. You probably need more of the here's this, here's that. Oh, your horse has lost some weight over his top line. Well, have you fed this? Here's some information. Here's an educational seminar. So they get something free, and same thing, you keep them coming back, right? But you've got to have some really good places, and you've got to have really good people who love you as much as you love them. And then you have to make them the star. Make them the star of the show. Make them the star of the story. And you're never the hero. You just show up and let them be the hero and the star, and meet them where they're at, and love them where they're at, and lift them and be appreciative. Make sure every time you go to a show, you walk in and you meet the producer, and you tell them your name, and you tell them you're grateful. I still do that. I'm humbled every time a lady has put a clinic on for me and there's 15 people. I'm humbled that they would do that and take time away from their schedule, and then make sure before you leave, you go say goodbye and I'll see you next year. Can I get on the schedule for next year? And then you soft plan next year. I'm planned out 5 years. You should have a plan.
And I think the other thing too, one of the other things that I've seen personally on mobile units is you got to have the right people working.
Oh,
If you have the disinterested, and we've all seen it, you've
yep,
seen it, I've
yep.
seen it. If you have the disinterested person, it's not doing you any favors, and you will lose money.
Yeah, and you can't have somebody that sits in a trailer. You have to have somebody that's outside the trailer. They're personable, they're friendly, they're smart, they're not shy. They have something that they're really good at, and like people love them. And if people love you, and you're out there, and it's rainy or cold, you have to be the first one there and the last one to leave. I heard something a while ago, and I was like, they were like, man, I used to always be the first one to the show, and I saw that trailer and it was 11 o'clock and no one was there. And I'm like, are you joking? Like I wanted to beat the other guy there. I wanted to beat him there just to see who was up early in the morning and what horses were out around and, what did they talk about and where were they? Where was the hot coffee spot, right? Like you got to know that stuff. People want to know you. The best in the world don't shop when everybody else is shopping. They show up when nobody else is around.
Well, and your professional riders will be there before anybody else is around because
Yep.
they need that whatever it is at 6:30 in the morning, not
Yep.
10:30, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
they like a friendly hello. One of my favorite places to go was it was in Arkansas, and it was a really, really cool futurity. And there were some of the best men in the world running barrels there, and they would always, come around James and Pete Owens and Tyler, and then you had Ashley Schaefer and Christy Durfee and some of the best barrel trainers, and we stood around there talking about rope horses, or life, and we sat on the steps, and it was just awesome.
well, it always comes back to it's about the people, isn't it? More than the product.
Yeah, yeah, it is, and I love people. I think anyone that's on the road, you have to love people, or you probably just need to get an Amazon store. Honestly, if you don't love people, you'll
Yeah,
wear yourself out.
it's not a place for the introvert. Let's put it
No,
that way.
no,
No.
no, no.
So if we'll end with this, if you were given so they have a brick and mortar tack shop and they're looking at going mobile, how do you recommend they start? What would be the piece of advice you give them to start a mobile tack shop?
Oh, I would first do some due diligence in finding out what are your best products, what are your top selling points, how do you sell, and then what type of people go to that kind of place. So if I was mostly trail riders and trail riders loved what I did, I would find out where those trail riders hub. And then I would find out the economic demographics of that spot. Then I would make sure that I had the product that fit that demographic spot. There's nothing worse when you go into a shop and they're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go on the road. And they're in the middle of Oregon and it's a ranching community and they have barrel saddles on the trailer. I'm like, what are you doing, man? So make sure that you know where you want to go. Have goals financially, have your people to, like, if you have a great little cow horse guy and he's awesome at building bits and building leather, put him in front of those people that want to hear and see him, and then he's going to go there and learn and grow. And then I would say keep it small and keep it simple, and it's not hard. Like for me, I really try to just be smart about where I go and how I go there, and then resource back. So you can do it with a mobile unit. And if you have a mobile unit, make sure it's user friendly. People can get around in it, or you've got to have your product outside, and then your turnaround on your product. So if you've got really high end items and they're outside in the dust all the time, you have to know what that value is, increase to decrease, and who will buy it if it's used. And I think that's a misconception in the industry, because they're like, a cowboy won't use a saddle that has a little sand and dust on it. They will, and they'll pay full price. Like they'd almost like it better if it had a little dust and sand on it. So know your clientele, be confident, have fun, never give up. Make sure you find a good coffee stand along the way, and put a good podcast on like this one. You can always learn from podcasts, learn from others, and then grow, and never give up. Right? Like you can have a wind or a shift of change, but if you just keep the horizon, right, just like this blue sky in Montana, if you keep that horizon in your view, you'll always be successful, and nobody can tell you any different.
Very good. Where can they find you?
They can find me on all social platforms. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. I'm also on Pinterest. And then if you go to WinHorses.org, we've got a really cool site there where you can actually find out the products that we do use. They're both for nutrition as well as pads, as well as saddles. I've teamed up with some great saddle companies, and I have a surprise coming soon. So if you get there, and then we have a cool education platform. So if you can't meet us in person, you can go learn. There's a free newsletter. There's also a free silver program to where all of my top 75 videos and an exclusive video are there once a month. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. And then I have that really neat program in November that's a master class. It's 5 days. So there's a little bit of everything for everybody.
And a retailer, obviously, they'd be out a year now probably, but if a retailer could have you come to their store, could put on an event with you there?
Yeah. And I've been helping some retailers. Like, this is kind of funny, but Adam reached out to me in January and said, "Hey, this is Adam." I didn't know who he was. And he was like, "You did a video on one of my saddles, and it wasn't a bad video, but it didn't sound like you really liked the saddle. And you gave a good video, but I would like to explain my trees to you. Would you ever come to Texas?" And I said, "Man, you bet." And he's like, "Are you kidding me?" And I said, "No, I'm open-ended. I have knowledge, but I want to learn too." And so he invited me, and I sat down with his team, and we went all day and just had a really, really great time. And we talked about sales. We talked about what he's good at, and then we fit a bunch of horses, and I gave him some tips. And then I've helped two or three times with his team. And then I've had several other retailers call me and just be like, "How did you sell so many saddles, Wendy?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm a unicorn. I mean, it is true. You probably don't find a 52-year-old girl that'll drive 12 hours and then go two spots and then drive another 12 hours. So I know that I am an anomaly in the industry, but I am so willing to help. Anybody who wants help, I would love to help you. So you can just text or reach out to me via email and let me know what you need, and I'll come help your team. I love people.
Very good. Well, we appreciate you joining us today, and thank you everybody for joining us on WESA's Retail Roundup. I would highly recommend you head over to Facebook and look for a Retail Roundup on Facebook and join the Facebook group there. And of course, WESA has YouTube and they have the website and everything. So check that out. We're only a couple months away from WESA in August, so in Dallas. So that's coming up too, very quickly.
Yeah.
It's amazing how quickly every 6 months that comes up. It just seems like I just went to the last one.
It's so amazing too, the stuff that's there and the new product and old product, and I love it. I was going to go this year and I got caught in a snowstorm, so I didn't go, but I'll be there. I'll be there in the winter. It's cool.
It was a winter. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate it. We have an episode for you here on Wisdom by WESA every Thursday, and you can find it on any podcast feed. Thanks, Wendy. Enjoy the beautiful sky of Montana.
Thank you. Thank you very much.